My question comes from the book of Exodus, chapter 32, verse 33.
Exodus
It
32.
dealt, it dealt, yes, chapter 32.
And what verse you said? You said 33?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my question is, we know that in that chapter, the people of Israel, have built a golden calf, and, um, Moses is interceding for the people on the behalf of the people, asking the Lord to, not destroy them. And, um, and then the Lord responded that, the ones who sinned against me, I will blot out his name,
Mm-hmm.
from the book.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, because I know the concept of the book of life is all throughout the scriptures. And I was wondering because I know, and I'm still struggling with the once saved, always
Mm-hmm.
saved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was wondering, what it is that same? Does the Lord still have that same view to those who sin against Him now, and even as a believer, will our names be wiped out of the Lamb's book of life?
Okay, that's a good question. Very good question. Let's go to that first text that you brought up. Let's go to Exodus 20, 30, 30. Let's start 32. But now, if you will, forgive their sins, and if not, please blot me out of your book which you have written. The Lord said to Moses, "Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot him out of my book." Okay, so now is he which book is Moses speaking about? Is it just one book? Is it the Lamb's Book of Life? Does Moses even know about the Lamb's Book of Life? Well, let's go to Revelation 20:12. He said, "And I saw the dead, the great and the small, standing before the throne." And look what he says, books. So plural. Books were open and another book. So if books were open, these books, that's plural, at least two. And another book, well, that's at least three. So at least books. And another book was open, and the other book that was open was the book of life, and the dead were judged from the things which were written in the books. So the dead were judged according to what things? The things that were written in the plural books. Well, which plural books? Well, it doesn't really say here, does it? We just know that there were other books. But apparently, according to this text, these books contained their deeds. So there at least seems to be a book that contains deeds of what they're doing. There are multiple books, and so we don't know what all the books are, but one of these books, at least, or multiple books, contain the deeds of what we have done. But now, are any of these books the books that Moses is speaking of? The Whoever sins against me, I will blot him out of my book. Well, David brings this up as well about blot them out of this. Let me pull that passage up as well. But let's go to Psalm 69. He says, "May they be blotted out of the book of life." Let's do something else. Add this over here. Let's add. Let me see what the Greek says about this. Oops. Let's slide this out of the way, and let's see. Okay. The reason why I want to pull this up is he says, "May they be blotted out of the book of life." The Hebrew word is the word hayim, which refer to those that are alive, and the Greek makes it clearer. Biblu. By the way, if anyone says that the Bible's not in the Bible, it actually is. The word Bible actually is in the Bible, which here it is. It just means book. Biblu. Zontan. Now, this is a participle. So this is the book of the living. Even though the English says the book of life, this is the book of the living. So what is this book? This book seems to be the book of those that are alive. In other words, the Bible speaks about those who he has written out their times, how long they're going to live. And so this might be an indication of that if I blot you out of that book, then you're dead. Not out of the
Mm.
book of life, but the book of those that are alive, the book of the living. Okay, so this book, the book of the living, is not the same as the Lamb's book of life. Let's go to Revelation 3.
I
He
think
who
that what does that
overcomes
make
will
sense? Yeah, go ahead.
he who overcomes will thus be clothed in white garments, and I will not erase his name from the book of life. Now, it's the same word zoes, but it is biblute zoes. So this is speaking what this book is about, but it's not giving this participle. I think that part is important. That this is zoes versus zoenton. And so now, by the way, notice what he says. His promise is. His promise is to those who overcome. Now, this is what we are, though. We are always called. The Bible calls us the overcoming ones. We're told that we're going to overcome. That all of us who are in Christ, those of us who've been born again, according to 1 John 5 and 1 John 4, Those of us who've been born again, he promises, he says that we are going to overcome, and he caused us to be born again. So he did the act that's going to cause us to be overcomers. And then he refers to us in Revelation 3:5, those the honeycomb, the ones that are overcoming. He says we will be clothed in white, and he says, I will not erase your name from the book of life. And he gives it in the most emphatic way, the ume axalipso, which is you will never, ever, 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 ever erase their names. So God gives a promise that he's never going to do something. And sometimes people come back and say, even though God gives a promise that he's never going to do it, we come back and say, well, you mean that we can? There's still a possibility? No. He forbids the possibility of us ever being erased or blotted out of that book. This is not you get to the end, once you made it, tag, I made it home. Well, then we'll go ahead and make sure that you don't lose it then. Well, no one thinks that once you're in heaven, you can be kicked out of heaven. No one ever thought that. This is if you are here, if your names have been written, which is what, remember, Jesus makes a statement and says, don't rejoice that demons or what have you are subject to your name, but rejoice that your names have been written. And he gives the perfect tense of that, which is a past completed action. So he says those folks, their names will never be written. I don't think that what Moses is bringing up in Exodus, or certainly what David's bringing up, is the same as what Jesus is bringing up here in Revelation. We don't even know they even know of the Lamb's Book of Life, because if they did, wouldn't it seem odd that the most wonderful book ever, the most important thing ever, Jesus himself, they never bring it up. They never talk about Jesus in the Old Testament. Now we know it's Jesus, but they themselves don't speak about what he's going to do. They don't speak about his death, burial, and resurrection. The most important thing ever. These prophets, they just have not been told about it. They've been told of him, but they don't know specifically what he's going to do. And so they also don't seem to know about this book. I could be wrong, but the Bible nowhere gives indication that they even know about the Lamb's Book of Life.
Oh, that makes sense. And when you talked about the book, having to be with those who, the book of the living, I know previously Moses had, instructed the people, whoever was on the Lord's side, to go towards him and then to slay everyone. And so do you think, or to slay those who weren't on the Lord's side? So you, are you, does that mean that those who, the Lord was talking about when he said that those who sin against me, I would blot out from my book, that those were the people that were
Anyone that
killed?
God has an offense against them, he is going to blot them out. Now, I think in this case, he's talking about those that he will block out from living.
Mm,
And so, what does he end up doing shortly thereafter? He blots out a lot of them. I mean, God starts slaying a lot of folks. He starts opening up grounds and sending stuff down in spectacular ways. And so, let me also do this book of life. Let me also put this in the chat as well. I just put in the chat a link to the book of life video that I did covering that as well in a little bit more in depth.
okay. I want to also let you know that that video that you did recently on it is finished.
Mm-hmm.
It's really been a blessing because that I've always been thinking about what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
What it meant when he said it is finished. Me and my wife just went to the movies to go see uh the King of Kings with my daughter and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was explaining to my daughter on Saturday, or the day before, was a Friday, about, what Jesus did and why he did what he did. And when I saw it in the movie, it is finished. It just stuck with me. And then when you went and explained it, I'm listening to it the second time. It was that good.
Thank you.
And so I just really wanted to thank you
Can
for,
I tell you something?
posting
Can I
that
tell you
video
something
on
funny? Once I finished that video, now and I was tired. I hadn't spoke. I hadn't done a lot of talking in 3 days. Hadn't eaten much, and I'd had 4 or 5 meals to eat in 4 or 5 days. I mean, I hadn't eaten much at all. I was weak. I was tired. My head still hurts from the pain. I'm taking. They got all this. I'm taking this medicine right here, and I even said when that don't help, take some Tylenol too. So, but I was so geeked up and so happy about that particular video, and just looking at the responses in the chats as I'm going. Now that video is never going to do 500,000 views or 100,000 views or whatever. But and someone's going to say, "Why don't you do any teaching? Where have you been?" So,
there.
which is funny. But those are the types of videos that I absolutely love. So I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, for sure, man. You did well versed, and I'm talking about it was just if like we say, if what is the scripture that says of from chapter line upon line, precept upon precept was a person
Mm-hmm.
that definitely was what you did for sure. And again, I'm just going back and listening to it again and just like feeding me because it's so important. Like that is for me is a witnessing, tool. It's fuel actually for my witnessing and stuff when I tell people about why, because a lot of people don't know why Jesus died. I ask them, do you know why Jesus died? Yeah.
Yeah,
And they say,
it's the
yeah,
most
for
important
sin.
thing.
But it's like,
It's
yeah.
a,
And
it,
it's just like,
we
but
we
why did he do
live,
it?
every Christian person on YouTube or Facebook or what have you, every preacher, every pastor, every Christian. This is the whole thing, y'all. This is what we've been waiting on, and we don't even know why we've been waiting on this. It's coming. It's coming.
Hmm.
It's here. It came. Wow. What was that about? And we
Right.
miss it, and then we relegate ourselves
Right.
back to what where we were positionally, spiritually in the Old Testament. So, but anyway, brother, listen, I got to go ahead and run. I got a bunch of folks coming on, and I got a bunch of folks in the question. I'm going to spend some time on these questions today too, brother.